Hi there, this is Sam, Reloved Guitars. Welcome to step 3 of my 5-step setup for electric guitars, and we are currently in a nice place. We have set the action that we want on this lovely SX Stratocaster copy guitar, taken it from a lousy playing action to a really nice one, and then we made the frets underneath behave themselves and fall in line with what we wanted. So we leveled the frets and then re-profiled them, polished them out and shined them up. So the precision hard work in many ways is done. This guitar is pretty much ready, or nearly ready, to put the strings back on and get onto the good stuff, which is playing it and enjoying its new fabulous action. But step 3 of this process is an interesting one, because it's the step where we can do as much or as little as we want to this guitar. Now, I'm going to be taking some pictures along the way, if I can find where I put my screwdriver bits. So I'll be taking some pictures along the way as we do things. And I've got a little list of things I thought I would talk about doing. I've called step 3, well, various things. I've called it fix, repair, clean. So we've done some cleaning along the way. The neck and fingerboard is now clean, the body's cleaned up after that sanding process. So everything's looking pretty nice on this guitar. What I wanted to do was a number of things. I thought, well, tell you what, we'll check for tuner tightness, make sure the tuners are in good nick. We'll take off the knobs and clean up the plastic that's caught under there and get rid of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the plate, have a look underneath, check for loose wires, things like that, but also at the same time I'm going to Loctite the pots underneath so they stay stuck to, well, they don't swivel. Now this is an interesting one, thread lock. Some people would hate the idea of using this on the guitars. I use this, it's a sort of semi-hard stuff, medium viscosity, it's set semi-hard, and I use it because the thing with a guitar is that it's, if they're in the order of where the electric's going to break, there's your number one spot, there's your number 1 spot, and there's your number 2 spot, there's your number 3 spot, and pretty much that's it. That's the main culprits. And the reason the electrics are going to break here is because you've got a very medieval connection with a great big lead yanking around. Now I know people tie it up around their strap to minimise that, but nonetheless the amount of leverage that's kind of designed into this is quite massive, and so it's often a place where this is going to come undone, because if this moves at all, then movement and solder joints don't go well together. And the same here is, you do this enough times, eventually the nut underneath here will come loose and the pot will come loose, and eventually at some point it will start spinning, and when the whole pot below here starts spinning, then it will break the solder joints. This is another weak area, but it's not as weak. Usually it's pretty well designed, it's held in place, but it's worth checking. But it's these areas here, the moving bits, that are the culprits. So what I like to do is put a tiny little bit of blue Loctite on these as I redo them up, make sure they don't move again, and then I put some on here to make sure that doesn't ever come undone. So we'll do that, and then I'll screw down these pickups a little bit, and then we'll be ready to go on to stage 4. But the cleaning part could go on as much or as little as you want, and you can take the neck off at this point, doesn't make any difference, put it back on, we'll get the same playing action once we get everything back together. So okay, tuner tightness. So for that I'm going to find my adjustable spanner. I suppose I better do a quick photograph of this. Sorry about the shining lights at you, but I can't really hold it with my other hand, but we shall see what I can do. I guess the point is just to make the point, if you get what I mean. So we're going to get the adjustable spanner onto a tuner. Let's get it onto that one and make sure it's on nice and tight. Sorry about this, it must be a very boring video at the moment, but the point is we're going to check this, and I'm going to just take that picture of somebody tightening something up. Now of course in real life what we're going to do is just check on the back, make sure the screws are all in and everything's in the right position, and they are. And so from my point of view I'm just going to double check and make sure everything's done up. The one I had yesterday, that I did yesterday, was completely loose. They were just literally rattling out. The other thing you can do at this stage is to check the turning of the doofers, these things, and if they're uneven, or some of them are turned faster than the others, you just want to balance them out so they're all about the same kind of stiffness. You don't want to over stiffen them because it will wear them out pretty quickly. Let's just have a look there. Not the best. Well, it's moving, isn't it? So I guess I'll get my bleeding obvious camera out just to make the point. Bounce the light off something. Zoom in. And we're going to just do a little bit of camera style adjustment. No, that didn't. Thank you. Focus. So, yeah, just hold the pegs and give it a little turn. Yeah, you just want them roughly the same. They do tighten and loosen very, very easily, so you can just whiz along. Okay, so I'm happy with those. The interesting thing now to say about tuners is the reason I'm doing these up isn't to make the tuning more stable, it's just to make the turning part more smoother. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the adjustment of these has anything to do with how well your guitar stays in tune or doesn't. It isn't connected. What's the word? Consistent stability of tuning has to do everything to do with taking all the stretch out of your strings, and we'll do that in the next section. And it has also to do with the shape and size of the nut slots as well. Absolutely nothing to do with the tuners. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to pull the knobs up. Now I've got here a really cute little tool that Chris Barker gave me, and I nearly took my finger off with it. And it was a homemade tool he gave me as a thank you for my videos on YouTube. And so I'm going to highlight Chris's tool here. And it's a neat little tool. It's he's got two bits of it actually. He designed this one for knocking off nuts, but we've got this bit here for prising up knobs. Now, prising knobs off the pick guard is a bit of a brute force arrangement. So you get the thing under there and you just sort of wiggle your way up. Now this is really not good at all for the underlying pot. You're kind of wiggling it around, but I don't know if you can see, once we've got that, sorry, you can tell what I'm about to do. Once we've got that off, you can see that there's a pile of horrible goo, cellophane under there from where the whole thing was pulled up. When somebody bought the guitar, it came with a nice cellophane on the, on the covering the scratch plate, protecting it. And somebody just tore that off in a fit of passion, and left this stuff bunched up underneath. So we can take a little blade and just snip round the edges of it and remove it, and it stops that silly little noise of scratchy cellophane, which I really hate getting in the way. So that's that, and then we'll do the same. Now we'll leave these knobs off for a minute because I want to get access to these what are they called really? They're called nuts on the top of the thing here, on top of the pick guard, because I just want to get behind there and use my little bit of Loctite to fasten them. This is a hardly played or relatively unplayed guitar, so the things haven't come loose at all yet. They look pretty solid, but by kind of the laws of movement, physics and use and so on, they probably will come loose at some point. So I'll just do my bit to delay that as long as possible. Okay, so I've got these off. Now what I want to do is get my mechanical screwdriver and take off all of these pickguard screws, and there they are should be quite low torque things, they're not fastened in very tightly. We can take them all out. Sorry about the noise. Again, this is one of the things that in the previous one I think I showed screwdrivers taking screws out, but it's like I don't think we need to say much more than remove the 11 screws holding the pickguard on. We'll also take these out as well. I will take a picture of it lifted up. What I think I'll do is I'll just start off by also taking down the pickups just a tiny fraction already. It's probably gonna, I'll need to just do it more accurately when we get to the strings, putting the strings on. I'm just starting off by lowering it a little bit, so we're closer to home when we get there. Okay, those are our pickguard screws off, and the plate sort of comes out from underneath the overhang. Now this is a fairly simple arrangement. It's quite, it's a nice simple guitar construction, but it doesn't have any shielding there underneath, so it's pretty bog standard. Is that a clear picture? There we have it. It shows you what the underside looks like in case you've never seen it. Yeah, it's pretty ordinary. So one of the things is obviously if there are any earth problems that'll do, you'll already hear them by playing it, but there don't appear to be any. So at the moment everything seems to be fine. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just move these out of the way. I don't want to move things around too much because I don't want to pull any wires out, but you can see what I'm doing is I'm just going to slack off this, and I'm going to get some tissue paper in all kinds of badly torn pieces. Okay, dust under there. Right, so these are quite short wires, so I don't really have a lot of room to play with here, which is a bit annoying, and you won't be able to see. So I'm just putting it up on its vertical end. I would like to, but it doesn't give me hardly any room. Oh, this is not very good. It's come out of its little hole. These things have a locating lug. Right, once it's out of the hole and I've got a bit of clearance, I'm going to put a tiny blob of blue on it, and I'm going to, sorry about this, I'm going to, I haven't got enough fingers now. I'm going to shoot a close-up shot of that blue stuff. That works. Oh, everything falls over. Okay, so that, you can see there's a little bit of blue Loctite on the thread below the nut, and it's a bit messy at the moment, but that's okay because we can wipe off the excess. So I'm just going now back over with the adjustable spanner. It's got this little locator lug in place, and that's quite good because it stops it. It allows you to tighten it up without it spinning around and doing damage. So it's quite a smart little innovation. And then I just wipe off the excess there, which, if there's a tiny bit on the metal edge of the washer, it's fine, it will stay underneath the tone pot. Okay, so that's the basic aim I'm trying to do to these pots, and unfortunately, like I say, it's not in such a place that you can see it clearly. Maybe I've got to retain enough purchase on it. I think it should not, the little lug should hold it from spinning around, but I still need to be able to hold it in place so the lug doesn't come out. So again, I've just pulled that away, squirted a little bit of blue on there. When I do this, the one thing I try to make sure is that the blue Loctite doesn't go over the edge and onto the barrel, the shaft of the pot. It just needs to go on on the threaded part of the shaft. It doesn't want to go in the turning bit, because that will, it potentially gums it up if you don't clean it out quick. Okay, I'm nearly there. So these are pretty good in the sense that they are much less likely to come undone because of the little locating lug. It's a nice innovation. Get it on there. I'm just going to try and add a bit of certainty to that, so it won't come undone at all, and therefore won't drop out of the lug hole. Lug hole. Okay. Okay. So those are my, get under there. Right, those are my 3 pots done up, and a quick check for any loose earth wires and stuff, and there's nothing untoward under there. I'll take a quick shot of these so you can see the little hint of blue gunge, aka Loctite. Thank you. Okay, then with a torque set to 1 or at most 2, we can pop all of these little screws back in, and you can hear the torque kick in when they're in far enough, and you don't have to over tighten them. And the next one I'm going to do is the jack plug socket. It's all good. All of those back in, take the jack plug one out. This one's a little harder to mess around with because it's got to be done with pliers. There is no other, I don't have any other long barreled, thin barreled, what's the word, socket that will get in and tighten this up. It's also, there's not a lot of room to get the blue stuff onto it, but the nut comes undone sort of worryingly easily. Okay, I suppose I need a picture of this. Two presses of that, we should be in close-up mode. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so what do I do? So, okay, there's the thing. Now I might want to have it stick out a bit more, so what I've done is I've just settled the socket a little bit, the nut, the retaining inner nut down a little bit, and what I'm doing is I'm just going to squelch some blue around the edge there and shoot again. And this time I put on the washer and then try, by some miracle, a bit of turning from the back as well as from the front, sort of wangle on the nut until it starts to bite a little bit. Now of course the blue stuff is flung around a little bit, but that's not my worry. So what I'm doing is I'm lining up that bit with the back of the thing, whatever that's called, checking the joints by the way while we're looking at it. The difficult bit now is going to be getting this onto here and tightening it up just with these pliers, and I'm going to do it as hard as I humanly can, and then hope while we do, not play it for a while, but hope that the what's it called, hope that the Loctite sets and grips that forevermore. Okay, and then we just do up the things on here. I mean that's as tight as it was before, but it's got the additional bit of Loctite now to hopefully stop it from ever going anywhere else. Okay, Let's hang these little fellas back up. So now we have the moving bits that could possibly provide us with trouble or pose problems for us. We've got the moving bits mostly locked down with a bit of extra help. And now what I can do is I'll just turn all these pots gently to their position offwards, and I'll start with a 1. I don't want to go tone, I want to go tone there. 1 and a tone there. It's the sort of way I normally do it, but maybe not the way you do it. And then a volume 1 there. So they're all kind of in the same way, and up to 10. Lovely. Get this out of the way. Right. So it's kind of obvious, but hey, look, I've just put the pots back on. I mean the knobs. That's out of focus. Knobs back on. Okay, screw down pickups, done it. Right, so we're pretty much ready for... Oh, better stop. We've done the fix, repair, clean. So let's just quick review. I personally don't go much for these horrible stickers on the back here. These are nicely done so they come off pretty easily. Two-way truss rod, crappy little serial number that nobody cares about. Mind you, I'll put my own serial number on that nobody would care about, but hey, that's because mine's been through this process. Okay, so a lot more time and effort gone into mine than's gone into getting this one off the production line in China. Right, everything about this is good. That's the end of the clean and finish, clean and fix process. Everything worked. If we didn't know it, before you put strings on or anything, you can do a simple test, which is get up your amplifier, get up a blade or some such, find yourself a, what's that word? Jack plug lead, and then we'll plug in. I'll take a shot of this to sort of make the point, and we'll plug that in, switch it on. Sorry, this is really bad view for you. There's our thing. Now we've got no strings on, so nothing's going to show up. It's a picture of that setup, how you're going to test it's going to work. And basically, I'm going to test the pickups with this blade. And of course I'm not yet doing it, but when I do it, you'll see that we've got volume up, neck pickup, neck tone, yes, middle pick, front and middle, yep, middle only, middle and bridge, tone, bridge tone, that's middle tone actually, isn't it, bridge. Yeah, bridge, no tone control on the bridge, as you'd expect. Alright, so proof that they all work. That's a quick, well, the end part of my fix and clean process. So I am now in a really good position to move to step number 4.